Okay, good afternoon. Welcome everyone to this webinar about boarding at Laureate College. My name is Dr. Christopher Hinchcliffe, and I'll be giving the presentation today. Before we begin, just a reminder that this webinar is being recorded and will be posted. So if you have any issues with that, please let us know in the chat or excuse yourself from this webinar. As well, there will be time at the end for questions. So if you have a question, you want to make sure we address it, please go ahead and put it into the chat as the presentation proceeds, or you can hold on to your question till the end and ask it in person, or again, throw it into the chat. So with that, let us begin. Quick overview of what I hope to cover in this presentation. First, I will introduce Laureate College, its location, and a little bit about the boarding program here. I'm going to introduce our student life team, our boarding team. We'll talk a little bit about the core values of the boarding program, what our goals are, what our motivating principles are, and how that influences and impacts our various activities and our programming. I'll get into a little bit of detail about what life is like living in our dorms, and then talk about the various enrichment activities that we have over and above what's provided during school and after school. So with that, let's dive right in. So here we have a nice aerial shot. This is Laureate College, and it is a beautiful campus situated on 50 acres right beneath the Niagara Escarpment in Burlington, Ontario. What this means is, although it is only a short drive from the highway, and only a few minutes from Burlington downtown, and only 45 minutes from the major metropolitan area of Toronto, when you are here, you feel like you are in another place, right? It is beautiful nature in all directions. The property is connected to the Bruce Trail, which is an historic trail, in fact, in Ontario. It's over 900 kilometers long and stretches from Niagara all the way up to Tobermory, making it one of the longest trails in the country. And the kind of thing that many people travel from around the world to experience, we have it running through our backyard. So it's a wonderfully situated campus. If you look at the campus from above here, you can see two wings on the left and right of the building. These are, in fact, the dormitory wings, and they house up to 40 students at present. We have a male dorm and a female dorm, right? Separated by the high school in the middle. And so our borders are kept separated in the evenings. As I said, up to 40 students. Our dorm packages do come complete with a dining package, as well as personal cooking facilities for the students. And I'll talk a little bit more about those when we get into it. We offer daily activities after school, as well as excursions on the weekends. We like to take our students out, usually on Saturdays, to explore both the local area, Burlington, but trips as far as Toronto and all the highlights and cultural attractions therein. Again, I'll talk a little bit more about that. There's also the supervised evening study period. This is a 2.5 hour window every evening when the students are expected to be out of their dorm rooms and either completing their homework from school, participating in online classes that are extracurricular, or pursuing personal hobbies. In other words, it's productive time that is adult supervised. All right. On long weekends and extended holidays like Christmas and March break, we also offer optional trips, overnight trips, that take advantage of the extra time off and really give the students an opportunity to explore even more of what Ontario has to offer. Again, I'll go into more detail of all of these things. Just want to point out here, you can see that we try to offer a fairly structured life here at Laureate College. Before moving on, though, I do want to point out for those paying attention to the image you'll see in the sort of top right corner of the property surrounding the school, you'll see there's actually a farm. It's about a third of an acre, and it is a fully functioning organic vegetable farm. And it's unique to Laureate. This is something that we have in partnership with an organization called Backyard Harvest, operating out of Hamilton, whose mission it is to turn urban green spaces, specifically urban grass spaces, things like the lawn in your backyard, into productive land. And so they've been working with us here at Laureate for about 6 or 7 years now, turning this corner of our property near the school into a fully functioning, fully organic, pesticide-free farm. And the students have then a wonderful opportunity, which they love taking advantage of, to plant, to nurture, and ultimately to harvest and eat food that they have grown themselves here on the school's property. So just before we move past the aerial shot, I always like to point out the farm up here in that corner. Okay, so moving on, a little bit more about myself and the student life team. So there I am. I'm Dr. Christopher Hinchcliffe. I am the director of student life. So during the day, I am the point person for all things boarding related. But importantly, I am just one of a team of people that are here looking out for the well-being and for the enrichment and education of our boarding students. Helping me out here, we have Miss Saloni Merchant, who is a junior school teacher during the day and supports our evening study period in the evening. Our sort of chief dorm parent or resident supervisor is Ms. Ria Sharma. She lives on site and is the go-to person after school hours 4 or 5 days a week. As well, we have Mr. Helu Zhang, who works with the school in marketing downstairs. And then in the evenings, he also works several nights a week as the after-hours dorm parent. The main highlight here is that we are a team of individuals who are always sharing the duties of looking after the students. And if you think about what I said earlier, that the school currently holds up to 40 students, you'll see that the ratio of supervision to students is quite favorable. All right, we always have someone on duty who can respond to the students' needs, whether that's educational or pastoral. And so the students are never left wondering who to reach out to, right? They always have someone there looking after them. During the overnight period, the dorm parents are on call, but we also have on-site security that is up and about, patrolling the hallways and keeping the facility secure, as well as dealing with any emergencies in the first instance as they may arise. So again, the team is, we work very well together. We're all very close. And again, because of the low ratio, everyone here has a special relationship with each and every one of our boarding students. Let me go through some of the core values here, and I'm going to talk a little bit about what each of them mean for us. Academic excellence obviously is a big part of any school's mission, and Laureate College is no different. Of course, we have our excellent academic programs during the day. Where boarding fits into this are in things like our evening study period, where the students are supervised in either completing the work they have to do for their high school courses, getting assistance. We often bring in outside tutors, or Miss Merchant can assist with instructional sort of help if that's required as well. Okay, so the students have extra academic support even once the school day ends. Structure is a huge part of our philosophy here because we believe that, especially when it comes to high school students, free time is a treasured thing that must be managed, right? Too much free time can result in the formation of bad habits, or I mean, spending too much time on the dreaded social media scourge of our age. So we aim to provide as much structure as possible throughout the day, so the students are not left wondering what they should be doing or how to use their time productively. We offer guidance throughout the day from when they are up between 7:30 and 8, all the way until 9 p.m. when the study period ends. And of course, there are hours throughout that when they do have some time just to relax. But structure, establishing good routines, establishing healthy study habits, these are all built in to the regular daily life here on campus. I mentioned before extracurricular activities. These are offered every day from Monday to Thursday, pretty much immediately after the school day ends. There's a short break, and then from 3:30 to 4:30 on those days, there's a range of programs for the students to choose from. I do a whole other presentation that centers on those. But just to give you an idea, we try to offer 2 or 3 co-curricular activities on each of those 4 days. The students pick one every term on each day that they attend throughout the term. Boarding students, again, going back to that structure point, are required to attend one of these activities or clubs uh, Monday to Thursday every day. That's a non-optional thing. They are required to go. Because they are required to go, though, we try to give them as many options as possible, as well as input into what programming we offer. So, as I said, we try to give 2 to 3 options per day. So that works out to 8 to 12 options, if you know, in any given term. And if you consider that we operate on 4 terms during the laureate academic year, that means that the students are choosing between anywhere from 30, 40, sometimes 50 possible activities over the course of a year. So even though we insist on having a structured routine, we're always trying to make sure that the students have plenty of options for constructive activity. Our community at Laureate is also very diverse. The boarding program in particular, vast majority are international students. We have students from Japan, China, Nigeria, Ghana, previously from Brazil, Korea, and we're always getting students from other new and exciting places. And there's a number of ways we encourage them, not only just through the regular activities of getting, coming together and sharing their, cultural experiences and celebrating differences. Some of our activities are explicitly designed, so we will have cultural themed events throughout the year, whether it's Christmas or Hanukkah around the winter time, end of winter, Lunar New Year, Chinese New Year in midwinter. All right, so we have those sort of annual events. Even some of our clubs provide an opportunity for our students to express and share their cultural traditions. One of the most popular, of course, is our cooking and baking clubs, where students get to take turns sharing their favorite recipes, which is also a way for them to get a taste of home when they're visiting. Very, very popular and a wonderful way to promote the diversity in our community. Individualized attention. Again, the ratio of dorm parents to students means that the students have lots of points of contact to get exactly the kind of support that they need, whether that's pastoral, whether that's academic, whether that's beyond the school. Many of our students try and take part in activities not on campus, and our boarding team is here to help facilitate that as best we can. So whatever our students require for their own particular needs or interests, our mission is to give them that personalized attention that they need. Life skills, again, tying into that idea of structure throughout the day, we also offer opportunities for them to develop the life skills they're going to need when they start to live more and more independently as they get older. For many of our students, this is their first time away from home. So showing them how to, for example, keep their dorm rooms tidy in a way that's, conducive to academic study and sharing respectfully with another student, right? Again, the kitchen I mentioned before, they have use of that. where they can learn new cooking styles or new ways of preparing meals for themselves. Again, all of that is extra. They can, of course, use the dining hall for 3 meals a day. It is by no means required, but they have many opportunities to practice these life skills. Character building, again, tying a little bit into some of those after school programs. We have many leadership opportunities for our students, whether it's the student council during the school day or serving as a house prefect, again, within the academic sphere. Outside, we also have dorm prefects who serve as role models, sort of leadership, student leadership within the boarding community. All right. Is a way for them to show responsibility, for them to demonstrate service, right? Giving back to the community and helping their peers as well as the school, right? So lots of focus here on, again, not just giving them an education and sending them out the door, but really trying to give them a rounded education beyond just the academics, but in how to be a good person, a good citizen, a good member of society. Again, safe and supportive environment is crucial to us, right? I mentioned the dorm parents are always there for the support and safety during the day. We have our security guards patrolling during the evening. We have strict rules about when and how students leave campus. So, for example, students in grade 9 and 10 must leave with an adult chaperone. Students older than grade 10 can, with permission, leave the campus on their own, but they must report to us where they're going, when they're going. They sign in, they sign out, and we keep tabs on them through phones and our various apps. So we try to be supportive, we try to be safe, as well as encouraging independence gradually as the students mature and proceed through our program. Again, not just the location provides unique opportunities, like I mentioned before, with our farm and the Bruce Trail, but again, the location of the school relative to other cultural centers in Ontario means that the students do have the ability to take a trip to Toronto, to take in theater, to take in music, or the various other sort of entertainments that the big city has to offer. We offer regular trips to Niagara Falls, which is very nearby as well. So lots of opportunities for the students to explore what Ontario has to offer over and above just what's on campus. And again, our location in the province allows that possibility. And of course, back to the academics, we are trying to prepare the students for post-secondary. That does mean, of course, helping them with things like their application process. But as I mentioned before, it also involves teaching them the life skills they're going to need to be in a much more independent environment when they get to university. Whether that's living in an apartment or whether that's living in a university residence, they will have had their first taste of that with a little bit more supervision here at Laureate. Again, we don't want our students to leave the school, go into a completely brand new environment in university, and struggle just to get by day to day in a living sense, right? Preparing for post-secondary is about learning not just about getting the grades, but learning how to manage your time, having good habits around sleep, around study, around eating, cooking, keeping your room tidy, that kind of thing. So all of that counts as post-secondary education, and that's where the boarding program really comes in. All right, let me talk a little bit now about the residence itself and what life is like in our dorms. Here's a picture of one of our dorm rooms here. You only see one bunk bed in there, but our dorm rooms typically have 2 or 3 beds like this, meaning we fit about 3 or 4 students per room. We do not fill up every single bed space. So, for example, if there are 3 beds, it doesn't, or 3 bunk beds, it doesn't mean there's going to be 6 students. We want to keep it to a level that's manageable for the students for the long term, because our students are here obviously for at least 10 months. All of the dorm rooms are en suite, so they do have their own bathroom, which they only need to share with their roommates. Okay, so this is an environment where students do get to learn how to live together with other people, often people from different countries, different cultures, right? Teaching them how to get along, be respectful, all right, as well as the beds and the bathroom, right? Each student will have their own workspace in the room, their own desk, chair, lamp, as well as their own storage space inside the room. Again, we also offer storage for long-term storage elsewhere for things like suitcases and trunks, just to keep the rooms tidy and conducive to comfortable living and study. Other facilities that are available around the campus are things like our fitness center, which offers a selection of exercise equipment from weights, heavy bags for boxing, cardio equipment, as well as just a floor space for stretching, for yoga, for moving around, whatever you like there. This is also one of the sites for some of our after-school activities. So we do run boxing clubs. We have run fitness clubs, things like that that'll take place in this facility. After school, we do have, I mentioned, the study period in the evening. Students are welcome to work in groups or work in a big space. We have our meeting hall, which is sort of like a large gathering which we use for assemblies. It has plenty of desks if students want to gather and have their evening study there. But we also offer private study space if, for example, students are taking an online course or anything else that involves maybe speaking or listening, and they need a little bit of quiet, a little bit of privacy, that's available for them as well. We do have some other amusements, again, which can be used recreationally by the students or as part of an organized activity, such as table tennis and a pool table. We have beautiful outdoor space, not just the wild space of the Bruce Trail, but we also have our athletic sports field, can be used for soccer, football, ultimate frisbee, and a number of other field games that we use for different house activities, for example, throughout the year. And then a little image there as well. We have our common area. Both dorms have a common area, and then there is a central common area as well inside the high school. So there are three distinct common areas that the boarding students will have access to. In addition, in the evening, there is another common area on the main floor of the building, and that's located in what we call the activity room, which is where their kitchen is as well. So, in addition to the dining hall where they can have their served food, we have the activity room where there's a private or the student kitchen and student dining tables, so they can prepare their meals maybe later in the evening if they get a little bit hungry after we've served dinner. Some things that don't see here, they do have laundry on site. Again, we try to keep this nice and organized. Every room is given a day of the week that is its laundry day. So the students, again, learn the skill of doing their own laundry and doing it in a way that is effective and efficient time-wise, because they will only have a small window in which to get theirs done, or if they can't, to work it out, right, with their dorm mates or with other people in the boarding program. So encouraging cooperation and problem solving in a sort of collaborative sense. Outside as well, we do have a basketball net, which is a popular site for the afternoons and evenings. Once the school day and the study period have ended, we definitely have a few students who will stay out there until the sun goes down when the weather cooperates. So plenty of opportunities for recreation and productivity throughout the school. The routine itself, again, as I mentioned, we do try to keep the students occupied, right, throughout the day, trying to minimize those hours of unstructured activity where you're in a constant battle with the delights of the internet and social media. So wake up typically occurs between 7:30 and 8, at which point they can go down for breakfast. Classes run morning and afternoon between 8:30 and pretty much noon, at which point we break for lunch, and then again from 12:40 to 3:15. Little bit different on Wednesdays. We do offer a late start on Wednesdays because we have throughout the week in the mornings these independent learning periods. So if you imagine the morning is broken up into three 75-minute periods, you'll find the middle period is an independent period. Now, independent doesn't mean nothing is happening. On Mondays, for example, that is when we have our student assemblies run by the student council. On Fridays, that period is given over to house activities where the students get together in their houses, which is sort of like a team within the school, to prepare for the next competition or the next what we call STEAM activity, which is something, again, I talk about in a different webinar. But it is sort of a competition between the houses to create something that uses science, technology, engineering, math, as well as arts, right? So all of those different disciplines merge together into these projects that the students then compete against each other with. So all that to say is the mornings do have some independent study, but it is not entirely unstructured. And many of those periods are, in fact, given specific goals for the students to accomplish. I mentioned as well the after school period has our clubs or our co-curricular programming. That pretty much gives them an hour break after that before dinner. So that's the first time they can really have some unstructured time for only about an hour between when the co-curricular or the clubs ends and dinner begins. After dinner, we move straight into the supervised study period, which occurs again Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday. Friday and Saturday evenings, the students have off. And then lights out again starts to happen between 10:30 and 11. By 11 o'clock, the dorm parents will have shut the doors and the students will all be safely in their rooms. We also, and this isn't on this schedule, but once a week, we will have a meeting during the study period with all the boarding students and the boarding staff. This is an opportunity for us to talk about upcoming events or to address any issues that might have come up over the week. It's a chance for us to reward students who are performing particularly well in the boarding program. Maybe their room is the cleanest we've ever seen, or they were helping out some fellow students with their homework. We use these periods to recognize that kind of behavior, and of course to raise issues if something has gone wrong. So that happens every week, and it's just one more point of contact for the students and the boarding staff as a group. Okay, so as you can see, a very structured day here at Laureate. Again, weekends, no classes, and so we work to make sure there are structured activities on each day of the weekend. Saturdays, this usually means a trip somewhere or an activity organized on campus. Okay, so this could mean, as I mentioned, trips to Toronto to see some of its attractions, the CN Tower, the aquarium, the Royal Ontario Museum. Okay, it could also be more local activities, things like ice skating, or taking them to the various escape rooms or laser tag or video game facilities that we have nearby. So a mixture of culture and just sort of pure fun recreation there. We also try to build into the weekend at least one shopping trip. So this is a chance for the students to go, usually to a local superstore, to pick up maybe some groceries, some snacks if they want to keep snacks at hand. Again, they can store this in the shared kitchen facilities. Once in a while, we will take them to a larger shopping center if they're interested in looking for clothing or electronics or whatever it is the kids want to buy. They'll often spend a lot of their time in the food court. I think I mentioned any food-based activity is very popular among teenagers, we've learned. All right, some activities we have coming up, downhill skiing. Again, I mentioned celebrating the Lunar New Year. We're going to be doing some dumpling making. We've got we have a wonderful VR, virtual reality gaming facility nearby. We'll be taking our students there. And as the weather improves, a trip to the zoo. So those are regular weekends, and those are just some examples of the kinds of things we do. Of course, there are also holidays and long weekends. This gives us the chance to offer students overnight excursions. Okay, so for example, we've offered in the past and we'll be offering this year trips to Great Wolf Lodge, which is an indoor family-themed water park, right? All completely contained with a resort or hotel sort of built into the facility. Coming up in February for the Family Day long weekend, we'll be offering a trip to Blue Mountain, which is a local ski resort. Very impressive, one of the nicest, if not the nicest, in Ontario. We'll take long day trips or overnight trips to local natural attractions. Again, Niagara Falls, or in this case, I mentioned Elora Gorge. And we might even program sort of mini camps. All right. So, for example, we have an elite golf camp that we've offered in the past and we have scheduled for the spring this year. So, those are for long weekends, little single overnight trips or little mini camps to keep the students occupied when the school is not running for more than just the regular weekend. Over extended breaks like Christmas and March break, when the school closes down for 2 weeks, the vast majority of our boarding students will go home. But for those who stay, we make sure that there is still at least one activity for them to do on campus or nearby every day. Okay. We also will offer, this is where we can offer really big trips. So, for example, this March break coming up, there is both an option for the students to participate in a cultural exchange trip to Shanghai for a week. As well, we've offered in the past trips to local, or not local, but Canadian historic sites. So, for example, they would do a week-long tour of Ottawa, Quebec City, and Montreal, some of the most historically significant cities for Canada. And that's a wonderful experience that really rounds out a visit for international students who want to learn a little bit more about Canada itself. Okay, so again, always trying to keep those extended periods or those periods of potentially free time, always trying to offer something for the students to do. All right, a little bit more about the clubs before I finish up. And again, introducing a different webinar, which you can go and find online. Um, The activities after school, I mentioned, the students really do have a chance to choose from up to 30 or 40 clubs throughout the year. Okay, so even though this is a mandatory thing for boarding students to do, right, they have lots of options to choose from. We don't want this to be a chore for them. And we invite them to suggest activities, and we always do our best to accommodate those requests. If they want an embroidery club or they want a hairdressing club, right? Our job is to figure out how we can make that into a structured activity, right? We will even give report cards at the end of every term on how the students perform in those clubs. Again, we take these after school activities as co-curricular, as an extension of their education, not as pure recreation or pure socialization or social time. Okay, we always try to give even the clubs a bit of a structure, some kind of achievement goal or educational goal, so that they are making the most of that time. Some of these clubs are instructor led. That could be one of our teachers, or it could be an outside expert who is brought in specifically just to teach or to supervise that one club. So, for example, it could be a martial arts instructor comes in order to teach karate once a week. We had that last term. Or we have a dance instructor come in, or we have someone who is an expert in coding or engineering and run a club based around that. But often the clubs are also student-led or student-driven, where the adult is there to supervise, but it is the students who are demonstrating leadership, organization, and taking the responsibility to plan what the club is going to do week over week. So, for example, the cooking club sets a menu, what they're going to cook in the next couple of weeks. They will, on one of their shopping trips, make sure they get all the ingredients that they need, store them in the kitchen, and then they will introduce their fellow club members to the recipe when the club day comes along. So again, opportunities there for them to show leadership, to express their culture and explore their passions, if you like. Again, these are mandatory for our boarding students Monday to Thursday. And if you want to learn more about them, these activities, and all the other activities we offer outside of the classroom, you can visit our Beyond the Classroom page on the website or look up the webinar on Beyond the Classroom, which I believe will be up on our YouTube channel. So that pretty much wraps up my presentation about boarding life here at Laureate College. I now invite you to submit any questions in the chat. Otherwise, I think we might have a few FAQs that I will answer just to keep in case you've got anything or that you might not think of yourself.
Hi, thank you so much, Chris. I think I have a one question here is what if a boarding student, because as you mentioned, we have lots of different options for co-curriculars or clubs and activities. So what if a student, let's say a boarder, they can like they can't find any particular that they're interested in. However, they have their own, interests for their own clubs and activities. And how do we support that?
So the requirement of students participating in an after-school activity can be satisfied if they are participating in an activity that is not a club offered by the school. Many of our students, for example, who are here in part to practice or learn or improve their English, um, will enroll themselves in whether it's an IELTS preparation class or simply just a conversational English class. They can schedule these in the after school period, and these will count towards their after school activity requirement. When it comes to clubs or activities that they want to pursue outside of school, again, we welcome those as a contribution to or as a fulfilling the requirement of an after school activity. So, for example, if the student is an athlete with a specialty in a sport that we don't necessarily play here as a group, but they want to join a local league, they can go after school to that club and that or to that sport, their training or their games, whatever, and that does count towards the club requirement.
All right, perfect. On my end, I mean, I don't have any more questions, but I would suggest if any of our participants they have any questions, feel free to email admissions@laureatecollege.ca or feel free to follow our Instagram and Facebook and also our YouTube official account. Like Dr. Hinchcliffe just mentioned, we're going to upload today's recording to our YouTube channel. And, you know, um, feel free to follow our social media. We will be constantly updating our school life, our boarding life, our clubs, and all different activities in a constant way.
Thank you, hello, and thank you everyone who's here today for our webinar. Again, I look forward to receiving some emails or hearing more back from you, whether that's to answer a question or to welcome you or your students to Laureate. So thank you all very much again for your attention today. I hope you all have a wonderful day.